KDB.
Check it. Barakaza, baba, za baba. Yendo number uno, Yesu number uno. Yeah. Number uno, yendo number uno.
Si chocha.
What is working in my life, working in my life.
Praise the Lord and thank you for joining us for another amazing episode of the ANGAZA show. My name is Pastor Mwangi. This having been a long holiday and there's still time and the holiday is still going on, I know the parents are with their children, and one of the greatest things and questions and mysteries that has been there is the question of parenting, more so in the 21st century where so many things have changed. We are raising very intellectual children, very confident, very opinionistic in nature, Democrats in nature, and sometimes some parents don't understand. We've always had this statement, in our days, we didn't see such things. But now these are new days. How do we navigate this without losing being the parent you're supposed to be, and without also losing the child because you're trying to introduce your day in their day? How do we go through this? Because there is a whole spectrum, and young people don't understand their parents and parents don't understand their young people. Where I sit as a pastor, some bring them to the office and say, the devil visited me and I think he's not in hell. The devil is in my sitting room in form of my child. Anyway, we want to have this conversation and just get some wisdoms and insight on how we can navigate this. Otherwise, we're here at the Zenaria Suits Hotel in Westlands. I want to say thank you for them giving us this space to do the shoot. Otherwise, I want to take a small musical break and we'll be right back. So welcome back and thank you for joining us once again. This is ANGAZA show, Pastor Mwangi here. And so today we are talking about parenting. Imekuwa ni noma. So many parents don't know what to do with their children. And we want to understand, first of all, the right stage and the right age. Sometimes the parents come when it's too late and they want to fix things. They were absent, but they want to fix things within that time. We also have a society and a generation of parents who are so broken, yet they want to raise very stable and perfect children. Environment is very bad. I was just looking at the new results and almost half of the students are below 250 marks, and I was asking myself, what could be the reason for such a result? And one of them I discovered is the environment that these students study in and live in. Not to forget, in Kenya alone, right now we are talking about, we are the leading in Africa in terms of single mothers. How do you navigate as a mother to even raise a boy child? And in my culture, they say there's an age where a boy cannot listen to a woman because that boy still sees that woman as a woman, though that woman is the mother. This is going to be a tough conversation. And I'm here, braced with two amazing women, and one of them, I believe, is a mother. So we begin with the introduction from that side.
Okay. My name is Pauline Esonga. Yes, I'm a mother of two children, preteens.
Wow.
I'm a trained psychologist. I do a lot of mentoring for young people and children. And on a day-to-day basis, you'll find me doing counseling. And I have a passion for this topic on parenting. How does the environment influence the child? How does the parent go about it? What do you look out for? How do you plan so that you raise a child who is healthy and able to manage life in society?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Pauline, you have two preteens.
Yes.
We'll come to that.
My name is Linda Musyoki. I am a teen mentor. It's something that I have been passionate for quite a while about. It started when I was actually in high school. I started mentoring the Form 1s when I was a Form 4. And it's something that has continued on for 8 years. And I'm loving it. I do appreciate being here as well, so I can give my suggestions or input into it.
Okay. So you're also high school then for 8 years. Okay, I'm trying to calculate the years, but it's okay. So let's begin. What is the right time to begin parenting?
Yeah, interesting. The right time to begin parenting is before you get married.
What do you mean?
So, you have to look at how you've been raised and ask, should I get children? Is this the way I want to raise them up? Then you get married, you start raising your children. How you operate, how the child lives in the womb, you're still parenting. The attitudes you have affect the child. The food you take affects the child. The stress you take affects the child. We even know of children who are taken to a rehab after they are born because even the drugs you take, the child also takes. So when the child is born, you need to be involved. If you don't change that diaper in time, the child gets distressed and starts seeing environment as something they can't rely on. So trust is created during 0 to 2 years. So you see how far back you have to secure the environment and to raise the child. So you are involved at every stage. The decision making of whether you'll become a parent, when they are 0 to 2 years, how they are taken care of is critical to their even mental health.
0 to 2 years.
0 to 2 is where trust is formed.
Okay.
3 to 4, you want them to look around the environment without restrictions. So if you keep stopping them from exploring the environment, that is wrong parenting. By the time they're getting to school, they need to play freely. They need to make friends. By the age of 10, you're thinking, what are their giftings? How do I help them to get their giftings? By the time they are teens, you want to know what's their identity. How will they form a healthy identity? Who are their friends? You know, do they have the skills to make friends and thrive in that environment? Are they being bullied? So you have to be involved. After identity at teenage, now we go into marriage and then the other stages of life. So depending on how you did it from scratch, you will have a healthy child or an unhealthy child.
So there's nothing like a stubborn child.
There can be difficult personalities. Kids are different. And intelligent children are labeled as rebellious or stubborn because they're creatives. They want to dismantle that phone and see, what can I do? It's just the imagination. So as a parent, your work is to unfold a child, not to mold a child. Study this child and know, where do they thrive?
You unfold, you don't mold.
You don't mold. Yours is to discover, what did this child bring? Earlier, I was just telling someone that the same way we say in Luke 14, that before you build a tower, you need to sit down and plan. Before you get a child, you need to plan. You have to plan their food, you have to plan the environment, you have to plan where you will take them so that all the gifts they have are realized. And what you want to see in future is also realized. So you have to sit down and strategize.
You know, it's amazing that you said it begins before marriage.
Yes.
What is your burden? Why the burden with the teens? What steered that burden?
For me, it was my experience with what I had gone through as a teenager. Also as a young adult, there was that consistent need for, I want a relationship with my parents that was closer to a point that I was able to rely emotionally on them, because a lot of parents do provide financially, which is an amazing thing. However, parenting goes beyond the financial needs. It goes beyond feeding your child. There is the emotional part of an adolescent, of a teen, of a child that needs to be taken care of. And if you do not, then someone else is going to take care of it. So you unapata at some point you're asking, and it's not you who passed it down, but it's someone else who passed it on to them because the parent was not there to stand in emotionally. So I realized when at Form 4, I was already set emotionally, but then I realized that the younger girls needed that stepping in for me.
So you felt like your parents provided
Yeah.
the material and the basic,
Yes.
but kinda they were not there to provide the emotional.
Yes, because I spent my time in boarding school
Okay.
for quite a while. I went in class 6, form 4. It was all boarding school. By the time I'm getting to bond with them as parents, I'm like, oh, okay, this is...
You've already defined your path.
I've already defined my path. I feel like it ends up being excessive because I don't know how to regulate as an adult into having a relationship with my parents that is more than blood.
Okay.
So it took a lot of time. It took a lot of intention to say, okay, I want a relationship with my parents. So that happened when I was an adult. But during the adolescent stage, it was a bit of an ish because we didn't have that time to form that bond.
So you felt like nikifunga chuo kuna pahali mi huenda nakaa, at least kuna mtu naitanga mom na dad, but we are two strangers.
Yeah, because at that time tulikuwa na tuition.
It was more
So
ukifunga bado nini.
Unafunga, unarudi shule. After 3 days uko zile za I really want to stay home, but I can't because there's tuition that has been provided for the child to go back to school. And my mom being a teacher, education for all.
and that's the...
It's just, you just have to go because the syllabus bado inaendelea. So you cannot, huwezi achwa nao wengine, you know.
Yes, and maybe let's come to now, because now she sits as a young person and she feels, mom, you've provided everything, but I need the emotional care. Hii generation VAT imepanda, mafuta imepanda, kila kitu is high. And many parents feel like their children don't understand them. Being in a third world country, you don't have the luxury to be at home because even parents feel, I need to be at home. But if I don't go out, then she may not go back to school. And sometimes they may not say that publicly. And I know many parents who crash inside when they hear their children say, it's like, mom was not there. And she's like, yes, I know I was not there, but I wish you could understand why I was not there. How do we strike this balance?
Yeah.
Because what makes a parent go out is love. And sometimes it's a quagmire because the child knows my mom anaenda kutafuta, lakini bado anafeel, lakini unafaa kuwa hapa pia. So how do you balance that as a parent?
There's a cost. There's a cost to parenting. And that's why I said you need to consider way before you get a child. There are jobs you can't take, at least both of you, if it's a husband and a wife. One has to stay a little bit slower and back to take care of stuff. I do a lot of counseling. What breaks my heart the most is to hear a young adult telling me, I was molested at the age of 4. I was molested at the age of 8. I asked, where was your mom? Did they even notice? Like, no. And I ask myself, would I ever forgive myself if I know I was out there pursuing something at the cost, at this very high price? So there comes a time when you have to count the cost and say, I might need to slow down at this particular age and see how to give to the child. Number 2, parent as a community. If you are not available, are there people you trust very well that you can parent with? All right, so that's also something to consider. Where can you bring in society?
Okay.
The other thing is, I don't think you can be working 24/7. Sometimes you may not have quantity, but you have quality.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's come to the parents.
Yes.
Apparently, who have to play the double roles. Sometimes when the husband is there and the wife is there, it's easy to share responsibilities. And I believe it takes a lot of strength for a parent to be both the father and both the mother. How do they come to striking that balance, knowing that they're also coming from a broken place and they're trying to raise a perfect child?
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's tough for parents who are single parents. But I think, again, checking what can I give and when can I give it. is there a person probably in church that I can trust to take the role of a mentor, someone safe, because we've had issues also with church people, whereby I can hook up this child with this man that I trust without mixing issues. I can even pay for that lunch for that child to go and get the male perspective or the other perspective of life. Number 2 is, how do I plan my work so that I have at least 30 minutes or 20 minutes a day when I sit down with this child and hear what they've been about. Then if they are 10, 12, 13, what other things can I pay for? Or what other programs? Right now, churches are running camps.
Yeah.
Take advantage of those camps. That's a whole week without your child, but the child is in safe hands.
Environments.
All right. So check out your environment to see where else can I be helped to raise this child. Save up money if you can. All right. Sometimes if there is a safe shop there, maybe in the slums, and you know this child can learn a skill, asaidia kwa bakery and learn a skill, take them there.
When people began to define things is when we discovered haya nilikuwanga depressed, you know. I think it's when I came to Nairobi is when I discovered haya nakuanga na kaushuda. I was born in a poor family, you know, because everyone was poor. So when you're exposed, you now realize, by the way, we were poor. So I think definitions have now begun to give very specific elements. I want to get your view on taking children early to boarding school. And this is what I know. We have a generation of parents who know the best thing I can give my child is education. So they mean very well. If you listen to their argument, they mean very well, because they're like, I have nothing else I can give you but education. But now the question is, at what expense? Because again, you have children scoring A's, but they're depressed. So later they end up in drugs and all those things, because for a parent, the result was more important than the person. What would you advise as an ideal age and an ideal stage when you can now expose that child to boarding? I also heard what you're saying, there ought to be participatory kind of engagement, so that a parent is not doing that which is good without telling the child why they are doing what they are doing. Because sometimes for you it's good, but the child feels like, ni kamla ni dumb, kwa nini mawabo? Yani at class 6 mampeleka boarding, am I eating too much, you know? But deep down you're like, I have my reasons why I'm doing this, but the child does not know. So what is that ideal stage when you feel like this child at this age can understand, or even when they go to boarding school?
I believe that from the age of 14, a child should be able to understand. If you sit down and have that conversation with them, and you have that relationship of where they understand that my parents actually just want something good for me. We've been spending time together, so whatever they do, they see that is good for me, so I trust them. Unfortunately, there are many times where parents hand over the child to the school, and they do not explain. They just know, I want marks from you.
Yes.
And when you come home with the report card, the first thing they ask is, how did you perform? Report card copy. You see, that already sets precedence for the conversation that you guys are going to have, compared to how was school? How did you do? How did it feel? Did you make friends? You see, when you have that kind of conversation, and they see your parents seem like they are for you instead of for your marks, it sets that precedence of, I can come and talk to my parent about anything, and I know that my parents are reliable, so I can go trust them with my emotions, compared to when I don't trust my parents with the things that I feel. In fact, I fear them. I think that's the word.
That's the word.
Yeah.
And some parents always ask, yani kwa nini hujainiambia? And pia kuna wazazi husema mimi siwezi argue na mtoto. Anyway, we'll come to that conversation because you mentioned something important, and I like the way you broke it down between 0 to 2, 2 to 4. Then there is now going forward and coming to the teen stage. And I really want to understand what are some of the investments that we need to do, because I feel like many parents show up when a child is around 14 years and they're trying to introduce themselves and have a conversation. And as you've said, the child already has made up their mind. They've already known how to survive in that house, and they are so retreated. And they now begin to operate on a transactional level. You pay school fees, I bring report card, but the way I survive, I don't want to know. And they're saying right now in TikTok, many young people have formed something called they have their tribe and their family, people who identify. So here you pay bills, but I have my real family somewhere. So anyway, we'll have this conversation immediately after the musical break. And I know you are learning as much as I'm learning. Some of us, we need to revise our parenting skills because those who taught us how to parent did not have the manual of the 21st century. And we are not raising a 19th century child. Anyway, see you after the break. So welcome back and thank you for joining us once again. This is ANGAZA Show, and we bless the Lord for the conversation we're having, especially on parenting. I know there are emphasis that were put with a certain generation, but with the incoming generation, I believe strategies and emphasis need to change. Studies reveal that every generation is defined by their values and defined by what we might consider priorities. What one generation valued, another generation may not value. And sometimes we may never impose what was important in our day and make it look like it's going to be important in another generation's day. There's been a conflict. Many parents don't understand. Some parents decided to wash their hands like Pilate, and they just look at their children growing and going astray, and some have decided to handle the matter heads on. This is just a conversation to help in insight, help in advice, and help in changing everybody, the young people and also the parents. And so we want to understand the different stages and the different investments. Let's begin from 0 to 2 years. What should a parent do?
So, of course, there is the advice that exclusive breastfeeding.
Yes.
That's not just for nutrients. It's also for bonding. So that's how a mother and a child actually bond.
Okay.
Having a consistent caregiver. In psychology, we say that forms attachment. A child learns to identify with a safe person consistently. So at this age, you need to be really, really present, or have someone who is very present. We advise between that age of 2 and 5, don't keep changing house girls or house managers.
Okay.
Because you're teaching the child that you can't attach safely. People come and go, people don't hang around. So you have to be really careful to have a consistent caregiver. As a parent, I had to choose between that and care. So I had a house help or a house manager for at least 4 years, consistent, not very clean, but very present. Kuta watoto wamekula bazokizo mbaya, but they are happy children. All right. So when they turn 5 and they are going to school,
Let's come to this 0 to 2. Where do men show up? Because we don't breastfeed.
Oh,
We're afraid of diapers. And so how do you bond with that child?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, this is the time you have that child, you're drawing with this child, you're doing unaweza mlalisha kwa kifua.
Okay.
The mom should not be the one waking up all the time. Unfortunately for men, you have to really work on it because the child has been in the womb. So there's already a connection between the child and the mother.
Yes.
You have to really work at it. When take that child, mwekele kwa kifua. Pray for that child. You know, learn to affirm the child. Speak to the child. We don't do gugu gaga with children. You speak.
Okay.
So that they learn speech.
Okay.
Yeah, and take time, construct, you know, with that child. Doodle. Yeah, so you have to be very intentional as a father.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then now 2 to 4, we come now the place of security. You need one house girl consistently.
Yes, yes. Now the child is learning autonomy. So this is the time you remove your white carpets and your white chairs. Let the child be. Let them discover. Let them draw. You know, let them command the environment. If you don't do that, this child will start dealing with shame. Esteem issues start that early.
Okay.
Yeah, because they can't command their environment. They don't have autonomy. Around the age of 5, 7, they start now experiencing what we call industry.
What is the age of discipline?
Discipline is consistent. It's
Putting
putting boundaries.
But between 2 to 4,
Yes.
that's the age of tantrums.
Yes.
How do you manage tantrums? Because I saw a young girl, a young child, I think, it should have been 4.
Yeah.
In the airport, alikuwa na simu ya mama anaona cartoon. Then the mother took the phone because they needed to go through the check.
Yeah.
And the boy threw tantrums. Akachukua kale ka bag, kale ka plastic where we put our things, akatupanisha. And you know, I could see everyone looking at the mother as a very responsible mother. But some of us, we also looked at that child and we understood, and they behave like this. How do you deal with that stage of tantrums?
Yeah, we say discipline is not what we think about it in the African setting. Kuchapa mtoto kama nyoka, it's actually discipleship.
Okay.
You're training the
Yes.
child.
Yeah.
And you need to train on media. First of all, I want to encourage this generation of parents, please manage media in your house. You're destroying that child's brain. There's something about that light frequency and concentration of that child.
Wow.
So train the child, what time do they watch? And restrict it to that time and withdraw.
Okay.
You see, if this was a child who was trained, there would not have been tantrums at that time. And you also give boundaries. A good parent will say is authoritarian, whereby you love the child, you give the child warmth and a lot of love and affirmation, but you put boundaries. And a 2-year-old can understand boundaries, whereby if you throw a tantrum, I put you in a particular seat. All right? And I speak to you. They may not understand, but they know every time I do this, I'm normally put in a particular place and denied maybe a gadget. Yeah, so put boundaries.
Okay.
Yeah, put boundaries for children. So industry,
That's from 4 now, 5.
5 now. This child, you will notice girls start hanging out with girls and boys start hanging out with boys. They're trying to identify with their gender. And you will see a lot of skill here. And now the children are very competitive. They want to know what to do at school, what to score. So even the school you choose needs to identify that for the child. So that now they identify with a skill that they have and grow at it and excel at it. And affirmation is very key at this stage.
Between 5 to...
Yes, around, let's say 5 to around 7-ish, 10 hapo.
Okay.
Wacha tuisukume mpaka hapo.
Okay.
Yes. Affirmation, competition is very key. Identifying with their gender. Now we are Christians, we can say gender.
Yeah.
Identifying with their gender is very, very
So this is when you begin to affirm you're a man,
Yes.
you're a woman,
Yes.
and this is how you carry yourself as a man,
Yes.
as a woman.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's, they can also lead it. You will start noticing. Like I look at the kids I have in my house. I raised 3, though but 2 are biological. But I can see the distinctiveness. I restrict media.
Okay.
So these kids are thoroughly bored. When they are bored, I watch what they create. So you'll see iPhones being created out of boxes. You'll see stockings being cut and mended into something. You can already see the skill. But when the child has no boundaries and border, you'll never see those things.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll never see the social skills. You'll never see the creativity because they are glued on the TV or on the phone. At teenage now, depending on how you've done it, the child will either identify with you as a role model or ditch you.
Okay.
And they're very suspicious when you show up all of a sudden at teenage and like, what are you up to? Where have you been? So you will either know what they've been up to or not. And identity is so key to a teenager. Wherever affirmation and acceptance is, they will go.
Okay.
If it's in drugs, they will go. If it's in a sport they have acquired, they will thrive there. If it's in you as a parent, you will enjoy the fruit of having sacrificed those hours and those moments. Give them a healthy identity. And I keep saying, give them a godly foundation. Yeah. Give them a godly foundation so that even when they are tested out here, they can actually see what I learned all through and what I'm facing right now, I can question.
Because what I feel is that many parents show up at teenagehood.
Yeah.
And this is the time now they want to parent.
Yes.
And they come with regulations, rules, and some teenagers kind of feel we are not even relating. You don't even know who I am. Like, you know, she said something very powerful, that she felt I will go home. I'm in tuition. By the time I'm out of tuition, you guys maybe are working, you come back at 5. We make dinner, everyone is asleep. Tomorrow, we all go to our routines. The next time we are talking is, what's the shopping do you need? What is your school fees? And then I'm dismissed. So what are some of the things that teenagers are going through that parents need to know? And what should parents also adjust to make sure that they don't lose them? Because we've had what gives them affirmation.
The one thing to pay attention to when it comes to adolescence is affirmation. That is the biggest thing. It's the love that they receive.
Okay.
So if they do not feel loved on this end, they will go look for it somewhere else.
When we say affirmation, what is affirmation? You know, some of us were very strange. I told my dad I wanted to be a rapper in Form 2. And the guy who was a rapper in our village, alivutanga bangi akavaa sufuria kwa kichwa na chain kwa shingo. So my dad alikuwa anaona kama hii ndio kuwa rapper, you know. So there is no way my dad would have supported me in rapping. Because again, these teenagers are very strange ideas. You know, I saw someone walking around and saying, Sasa, how will this document help me? How will this degree help me? You know, this professor, how will this help me make money? You know, how do we affirm without losing truth? Because sometimes I might be affirming you and I know hii kitu itakusaidia. Boss, unataka career yako ikuwe dancer, after 30 years, dancing utapeleka wapi? So how do we affirm without necessarily burying our heads in the sand and not speaking the truth?
Have a conversation.
Okay.
Come down to that level and just have a conversation and listen to them. Let them defend themselves. And remember that you're the adult. So you do come with the logic.
Okay.
For adolescents, it's usually emotions mainly. I went through that stage of, Mom, I want to be a singer. And Mommy said, no, you are never and uimbe kanisa, but you're not going to go through this journey because the view of the music industry at that time was so bad. It wasn't so healthy. So I think the best thing is to just sit down, listen to them, let them defend what it is that they want. Help them think logically.
Okay.
Yes, that is the best way to affirm.
Is it also the right time to make deals?
What
By
do you mean?
deal, I mean, I have what I want you to do, and this is what you want to do. And so you say, you know, I want to sing, and they're like, no problem, I'll pay your studio, I'll pay your video, just bring me a degree. Do you think it's a time to, because sometimes I believe that parenting through motivation, I'm not killing your dream, but I'm also trying to say, can we leave this table on a win-win? Is it do you think it's the right time to make deals with your children?
I think we always... Parents have always made deals with children. It started from... ukifanya hii nitakupatia sweetie. So that was always a deal being put into place. So it's a reward system where if you do something, I am going to support you in this. And it's one of the ways to motivate children. It's actually called an extrinsic motivation. So if I support you, give me a good report form. So it's something that has always happened. It's something that we will do to our children as well. And as parents, I think you're already doing it.
Some parents don't keep that part of the deal.
Oh, keep that part of the deal,
please. I remember my mom will ask us for money. Tunapea pesa na shosho. Asema leta niwaeke. Siku ya kuendea pesa anauliza mnakulanga hapa, mnalala hapa. Nishai walipisha. And so,
Yeah.
but what I'm getting here is, also parents need to keep their part of the
Yes.
bargain.
Yeah.
So that at least, and I like it what you've said, from that age of, if you do this, I'll get you a sweet, that child will know when this man says he keeps his word. Because I know there are times even children tell you, ukienda job utaniletea ndege, alafu namwambia I don't know, that child, ujione anauliza ndege iko wapi, unamwambia kesho. And slowly they begin to know this guy is a liar.
Yes.
And they might not ask for the ndege, but what they have accepted is what this guy promises he will never deliver. And so that's why in future now when you begin to say something, they look at you and they're like, dude, you never keep your word. So it's important for parents to
Keep the side of the bargain.
honor their pledges.
Yes. But you have to be careful
Yes.
not to look like you're bribing.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, and whatever bargain you want to keep, affirming means you've been studying this child and you know what skills they're capable of.
Okay.
So you are guiding from afar, but you are the intelligent one. So they want to become a DJ. I'll try to look for a safe space where this DJing skill can be learned. But I know this guy has engineering capabilities.
Okay.
So like I'll be like, since you are young, you are constructing stuff, you are doing this. Check this because this can be a fallback. You can even use COVID. During COVID, people folded up their viragos and went home. What will you fall back on?
Okay.
So that you are discussing. And I say discuss because if you don't learn to discuss, I see parents now at the next stage after teenage, where the person is making a decision to get married, you have no say. And you can tell this guy or this lady will mislead your child. But it's because you never learn to discuss and negotiate.
They never felt like they were part of it.
Yes.
And the teenagers are very smart. Nowadays they have an opinion. They're exposed and they feel they have something to say. And especially the teenagers of our day. And some of them feel, I wish you could also listen to me. Because someone said we live in plurality of truths. So a teenager can look at you and say, you know, that's your truth. I wish you can also listen to my truth. You know, this is an amazing conversation. Parenting is a lifetime skill. I believe also God and the Holy Spirit become very key in guiding us and leading us. And it is my prayer that because of time, whatever we have shared is enough wisdom, so that at least those who are there can know where to pick it up. So for the parent, I believe this was not, this was introduction to Parenting 101. We've not yet gone to the topics and the details, but I believe out of that already there are a few things you are learning. And one of the greatest thing is not just to get a child, but to raise that child to become the person that God created them to be. I think my takeaway home will be, don't mold the child, unfold the child. Also try to understand that child. That child is a mystery. I remember one day my mom came to a meeting, I was preaching. She looked at me in the whole service. She never wrote any notes. And then when we went back to the vestry, she looked at me straight in the eye and said, Tony, Mungu no maajabu. She didn't even call me pastor because I think she did not understand what she delivered. And I tell you, that child is a mystery and only God knows what you delivered. And you need to partner with God to bring forth that great destiny in that child. Otherwise, from our end, you know, we cannot wait for the Crossroads segment. And this is Zaharia Suits, Westlands, and we bless God for this facility. God bless you. Thank you very much and welcome to the Crossroad segment. They say that a child you receive is a gift from God, but the child you raise is a gift to God. One of the mysteries, even in our land, is that we have curriculums that prepare people for marriage. They call them the marriage counseling curriculum. And very few people prepare the couples for children, which is a byproduct of marriage. And some people found themselves as parents, and the children don't come with a manual of parenting. And so many parents have been caught up and didn't even know how to raise this human being. It's a mystery because many children begin to speak at the age of 3, some even at the age of 4. And you have a human being in that house. You must communicate, you must connect, and no one ever told you how you're going to deal with this person. Every child carries a very great destiny. The Bible talks about Jephthah. Jephthah was the child of a prostitute. Some of the habits and, behaviors of parents are not transferable. Destiny is so unique that the chaos of your parents are not necessarily an ideal of who you're going to be. A mystery is the son of Osama bin Laden founded a foundation, and he is against terrorism. Yes, the father Osama bin Laden was the leader of terrorism using religion, meaning that this was the son of the biggest terrorist, but he never got converted to the ideologies of his father. What I'm trying to say, we are raising very unique children, and we need to know that our role is not to duplicate ourselves in them, but our role is to make them to become who God created them to be. Some are mysterious, and only God can unveil them in the fullness of time. To every parent, may God give you the grace in these murky rides and all this. May God give you the wisdom. May God give you the stature. And above all, may God make you the mother and the father that is going to bring forth the destiny of that child. Even in your failures, I believe there are lessons. So they are not looking for a perfect parent, but I think what I have heard from this conversation, your presence is more important than your presence. So make sure there is balance. Otherwise, this is the crossroad. I want to say thank you to everyone that joins us in the ANGAZA family, and we bless the Lord for you, the production team, the guys behind the camera, DJ Taff, and also Zaneria Hotel for giving us this facility. Pastor Tim Mwangi, see you next Saturday, and God bless you.